Good day, Doc, and good day, classmates. I'll be discussing about Chapter 13, Building Information System. After this chapter, you will be able to answer the following questions. How does building new systems produce organizational change? What are the core activities in the systems development process? What are the principal methodologies for modeling and redesigning systems? What are the alternative methods for building information systems? What are the new approaches for system building in the digital firm era? Part 1 is Systems as Planned Organizational Change. Part 2 is Overview of Systems Development. Building a new information system is one kind of planned organizational change. The introduction of a new information system involves much more than new hardware and software. It also includes changes in jobs, skills, management, and organization. When we design a new information system, we are redesigning the organization. System builders must understand how a system will affect specific business processes and the organization as a whole. There are four kinds of structural organization change: the automation, rationalization, business process redesign, paradigm shifts. Each structural organization change carries different risks and rewards. So, automation's risk is low, but return is low. The rationalization is have a higher risk than automation, and then the return is also higher than automation. The risk for redesign is higher, and paradigm shifts is also high. The most common forms of organizational changes are automation and rationalization. These relatively slow-moving and slow-changing strategies present modest returns but little risk. Faster and more comprehensive change, such as redesign and paradigm shifts, carries high rewards but offers substantial chances of failure. For automation, it frequently reveals new bottlenecks in production and makes the existing arrangement of procedures and structures painfully cumbersome. It means less or no human interaction in production or manufacturing companies or other businesses. Rationalization or rationalization of procedure is the streamlining of standard operating procedures. Rationalization of procedures is often found in programs for making a series of continuous quality improvements in products, services, and operations, such as total quality management and Six Sigma. This process is limited to a specific part of businesses. Like redesign or business process redesign is a more powerful type of organizational change in which business processes are analyzed, simplified, and redesigned. Business process redesign reorganizes workflows, combining steps to cut waste and eliminate repetitive paper-intensive tasks. Sometimes the new design eliminates jobs as well. It is much more ambitious than rationalization of procedures, requiring a new vision of how the process is to be organized. It also it is also limited to specific parts of a business. Example of this is the Ford Motor Invoices Processing, which reduced headcount in Ford's North American's accounts payable organization of 500 people by 75%. Accounts payable clerks used to spend most of their time resolving discrepancies between purchase orders, receiving documents, and invoices. Ford redesigned its accounts payable process so that the purchasing department enters a purchase order into an online database that can be checked by the receiving department when the ordered items arrive. There is no need for vendors to send invoices. So the fourth approach is the paradigm shift. It involves rethinking the nature of business and the nature of the organization. New information systems can ultimately affect the design of the entire organization by transforming how the organization carries out its business or even the nature of the business. Paradigm shifts and re-engineering often fail because extensive organizational change is so difficult to orchestrate. Why? Then why then so many corporations contemplate such radical change? Because the rewards are equally high. So even high yung risk, um, companies or corporations tend to have their paradigm shift kasi mas malaki yung reward. So to deal with changes, businesses do business process management. It provides a variety of tools and methodologies to analyze existing processes, design new processes, and optimize those processes. BPM, or Business Process Management, is never concluded because process improvement requires continual change. So, companies practicing business process management go through the following steps. First, identify process for change. Second, analyze existing processes. Third, design the new process. Fourth, implement the new process. And fifth, continuous measurement. BPM poses challenges. Executives report that the largest single barrier to successful business process change is organizational culture. Employees do not like unfamiliar routines and often try to resist change. This is especially true of projects where organizational changes are very ambitious and far-reaching. Managing change is neither simple nor intuitive, and companies committed to extensive process improvement need good change management strategy. So it is not easy to have a business process management or business process changes kasi laging kasama doon yung employees na unfamiliar to changes or resistant to changes. But in the long run, this will benefit the system flow naman sa company or sa organization when it is adopted. So here is an example of a process of purchasing a book from a physical bookstore. So si customer nagpunta sa bookstore, nag-search siya sa shelves, and then kung available yung book, so nag-purchase na siya ng book and then take book home and yun na. So tapos na yung process nung pagbili niya. Kung hindi naman available yung book, yung clerk ay magsa-search ng kung saan available, and pag nakahanap siya, yun nga, payment na nung babalik si customer, then bibilihin na yung book, and then yun, successful na item na nakuha niya. If not, mag-i-inquire about ordering the book. So, uh, if available siya, pupunta siya sa ibang store. If yes, if it is available, pupunta siya dun sa ibang store, no? And then, si clerk, magpe-place ng order. And then, pag na-receive na yung book, ino-notify si customer. And then, si customer babalik sa store. And then, purchase na yung book. If not, pupunta siya sa si clerk, pupunta sa another store. So, yun yung process dun sa physical bookstore. Now naman, if there is a redesign na sa process in purchasing a book online, so si customer mag-a-access online sa online bookstore, and then magsa-search siya sa catalog. If available yung book, yun, enter lang niya yung order niya, and then yung payment data, and then marireceive yung book via mail. If not naman available yung book, mag-search siya sa ibang online bookstore, excuse me. And then mag-search again, and the process again. No? Using internet technology makes it possible to redesign the process for purchasing a book so that it requires fewer steps and consumes fewer resources. This actually happened in book retailing when Amazon challenged traditional physical bookstores with its online retail model. By radically rethinking the way a book can be purchased and sold, Amazon and other online bookstores have achieved remarkable efficiencies, cost reductions, and a whole new way of doing business. So another example of this is yung Shopee and Lazada. So another example of redesigning the process in purchasing retail naman. So there are tools to help businesses identify and document processes requiring improvement. So there are over 100 firms provide tools for various aspects of business process management, including IBM, Oracle, and TIBCO. These create models of improved processes, capture and enforce business rules for performing processes, and integrate existing systems to support new or redesigned processes, analytics, and the like. So, here are the kilalang-kilalang mga tools, software firms na gamit sa companies and corporations. So, before tayo mag-proceed sa systems development, let us review the participants in systems development. They are the stakeholders, the users, the systems analysts, and the programmer. So, the stakeholders are the individuals who either themselves or through the organization are beneficiaries of the system development effort. The users are the individuals who interact with the system regularly. So, sino yun? Yung mga nasa offices. System analysts, professional who specialize in analyzing and redesigning business systems. And then the programmer are the individual who are responsible for modifying and developing programs to satisfy user requirements. So here is the overview of the systems development process. The systems analysis, system design, programming, testing, conversion, and then to production maintenance, and then so on. Ikot lang siya. Building a system can be broken down into these 6 core activities. The activities that go into producing an information system solution to an organizational problem or opportunity are called systems development. Systems development is a structured kind of problem solved with distinct activities. So these activities na nga is these 6 core activities. These activities are usually illustrate a sequential order, but some of the activities may need to be repeated or some may take place simultaneously, depending on the approach to system building that is being employed. So here is the description of the system processes, so or the core activity. System analysis is where you identify the problem, specify solution, and then establish information requirements. In system design, where we create design specifications or the users or the participants na sinabi ko kanina. In programming, translate design specifications into program code. So this is in collaboration with the programmers na. Testing, perform unit testing, perform system testing, perform acceptance testing. And in conversion, plan conversion, prepare documentation, train users and technical staff. And then in production and maintenance, this is where we operate the system, evaluate the system, and then modify the system. So, sabi kanina, it could be in sequential order, yung gantong activity, or simultaneously ginagawa, and then so on yung process. So, for party and part 4, party alternative system building approaches, and then the application development for digital firm. So systems differ in terms of size, in technological complexity, in terms of organizational problem. And these differences are meant to solve by the alternative system building method or approaches. A number of systems building approaches have been developed to deal with these differences. So here are the alternative system building methods or approaches to deal with system differences mentioned, yung size nga, technological complexity, and organizational problem. First is the traditional system development life cycle. Next approach is prototyping. Next is application software packages, then end user development, and lastly is the outsourcing. Traditional systems development life cycle is a phased approach to building a system, dividing systems development into formal stages, with each stage requiring completion before the next stage can begin. SDLC, or the Systems Development Life Cycle, is the oldest method for building system, which requires that information system be developed in formal stages. So the stages must proceed sequentially and have defined outputs. It requires formal approval before the next stage can commence. The system life cycle is used for large projects that need formal specifications and tight management control over each stage of systems building. So first, system analysis. Then, after matapos yung system analysis, tsaka pa lang mag-aano yung system design. Then, the programming, the testing, conversion, and production maintenance. The system's life cycle is still used for building large complex systems that require a rigorous and formal requirement analysis, predefined specifications, and tight controls over the system building process. However, the system life cycle approach these are the advantages, can be costly, time-consuming, and inflexible. So the formal division of labor for SDLC is the technical specialists or the systems analysts and programmers are responsible for much of the system analysis, design, and work implementation. End users or the managers and staffs are limited to providing information, requirements, and reviewing the technical staff's work. The system lifecycle methodology, advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are formal review at the end of each phase allows maximum management control, while the disadvantage is documentation is expensive and time-consuming to create. Advantage is this approach creates considerable system documentation, while the disadvantage is it is difficult to keep current or it is inflexible. Another advantage is formal documentation ensures the system requirements can be traced back to stated business needs, and it produces mainly intermediate products that can be reviewed to see whether they meet the user's needs and conform to standards. So the next approach or you can use is prototyping. Prototyping is also known as iterative process. The process of building a preliminary design, trying it out, refining it, and trying again has been called an iterative process of system development because the steps required to build a system can be repeated over and over again. Prototyping is more explicitly iterative than the conventional life cycle, and it actively promotes system design changes. It has been said that prototyping replaces unplanned rework with planned iteration, with each version more accurately reflecting user requirements. So it consists of building an experimental system rapidly and expensively for end users to evaluate. By interacting with the prototype, users can get a better idea of their information requirements. The prototype endorsed by the users can be used as a template to create the final system. So what is prototype? Prototype is a working version of an information system or part of the system, but it is meant to be only a preliminary model. Once operational, the prototype will be further refined until it conforms precisely to users' requirements. Once the design has been finalized, the prototype can be converted to a polished production system. So here is the prototyping process. The step 1, identify basic requirements. Step 2 is develop a working prototype. Step 3 is use the prototype. So when the user is satisfied, operational na yung prototype. And then if not, it needs revision and enhancement ng prototype, and then back to step 3. So here are the advantages and disadvantages. Prototyping is most useful when there is some uncertainty about requirements or design solution, and often used for redesigning an information system and user interface. However, rapid prototyping can gloss over essential steps in system developments. Because prototyping encourages intense end-user involvement throughout the system's development lifecycle, it is more likely to produce system, that fulfill user requirements. If the completed prototype works reasonably well, management may not see the need for reprogramming, redesign, or full documentation and testing to build a polished production system. So some of these hastily constructed systems may not easily accommodate large quantities of data or a large number of users in a production environment. So another approach is the end user development. This type of information systems can be developed by end users with little or no formal assistance from technical specialists, is called end user development. So what makes this possible? A series of software tools categorized as fourth generation languages makes this possible. So familiar siguro kayo dito sa and user development, yung fourth generation languages. So, what is fourth generation languages? Fourth generation languages are software tools that enable end users to create reports or develop software applications with minimal or no technical assistance. Some of these fourth generation tools also enhance professional programmers' productivity. So, here is an example of a fourth user generation language. So, kung makikita nyo yung sa first generation language, yung malaki ang participation ng user. And then for the second, yun nababawasan pag meron ng computerization. And then for the fourth generation, merong user interface pa din, pero less na. Fourth generation languages tend to be non-procedural or less procedural than conventional programming languages. So, the fourth generation language which is high-level language category is processor independent, uses form filling, computer-aided graphics, and screen instructions. So here are the example of fourth generation tools in PC software tools, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Access. For query language, the SQL, if you are familiar with that, report generator, Crystal Reports, graphics language, application generator, application software package, and very high-level programming language. Dito na yung Web Focus, QuickBase, Oracle, and SAP, MySAP, and APL, Nomad 2. So, ayun po ay mga examples. Yan, Excel, Microsoft Access, SQL, Crystal Reports, and QuickBase. So, common is yung SAP. So, what is query languages? Query languages are software tools that provide immediate online answers to requests for information that are not predefined, such as who are the highest performing sales representatives. Query languages are often tied to data management software and to database management system. So, ito yung mga kailangan pa rin ng mga data encoder and then ang software tool na ang a-analyze ng mga data. So, and here are the advantages and disadvantages. So, hindi ko na po iisa-isahin yung advantages and disadvantages. So another method is the application software package. Using a software package reduces the amount of design, programming, testing, installation, and maintenance work required to build a system. Application software packages are helpful if a firm does not have the internal information system staff or financial resources to custom develop a system. To meet an organization's unique requirements, packages may require extensive modification that can substantially raise development costs. So here are the advantages and the disadvantages. A software package can fulfill most of an organization requirements. The company does not have to write its own software. So other disadvantage is if a great deal of customization is required, additional programming and customization work may become so expensive and time-consuming that they negate many of the advantages of software packages. So when a system is developed using an application software package, system analysis will include a package evaluation effort. So the most important evaluation criteria are the functions provided by the package, flexibility, user-friendliness, hardware and software resources, database requirements, installation, maintenance efforts, documentation, and vendor quality and cost. So when the package evaluation process often is based on request proposal, which is a detailed list of questions submitted to package software vendors. Then, when it is selected na yung software package, the organization no longer has total control over the system design process. Kasi nga, meron ng parang third party for this. So another is outsourcing. Outsourcing consists of using an external vendor to build or operate a firm's information system instead of the organization's internal information system staff. So kung ayaw nang mag-invest the company sa internal department for this para magkaroon ng or mag-create ng system, outsourcing is the key. If a firm does not want to use its internal resources to build or operate information system, it can outsource the work to an external organization. So the outsourcing vendor might be domestic or in another country or offshore. So advantage, outsourcing can save application development costs or enable firms to develop applications without an internal information systems. However, firm risks losing control over their information system and becoming too dependent on external vendors. Outsourcing also entails hidden costs, especially when the work is sent offshore. So for part 4, or application development for digital firm. So application development for digital firm, organizations need to be able to add, to change, and retire their technology capabilities very rapidly to respond to new opportunities, including the need to provide applications for mobile platforms. So companies are starting to use shorter, more informal development processes that provide fast solutions using software packages, external service providers, and fast cycle techniques. So here are the approaches for system building in digital era. So I am not also familiar or with the term. So to accelerate the systems development process, fast cycle techniques is used by the companies. These techniques are RAD, or Rapid Application Development, or JAD, Joint Application Design, Agile Development, Reusable Standardized Components, are the software that can be assembled into complete set of services for e-commerce and e-businesses. So the RAD or RAD or Rapid Application Development uses object-oriented software, visual programming, prototyping, and fourth generation tools for very rapid creation of systems. So the process doesn't have to be sequential, and the key parts of development can occur simultaneously. Next one is JAD or the JAD. Joint Application Design is used to accelerate the generation of information requirements and to develop the initial system design. JAD brings end users, information systems specialists together in an interactive session to discuss a system's design. Properly prepared and facilitated, JAD sessions can significantly speed up the design phase and involve users at an intense level. So in agile development breaks a large project into a series of small sub-projects that are completed in short periods of time using iteration and continuous feedback. So each mini project or sub-project is worked on by a team as if it were a complete project, including planning, requirements, analysis, design, coding, testing, and documentation. So improvement or addition of new functionality takes place within the next iteration as developers clarify requirements. The next method is component-based development. To further expedite software creation, groups of objects have been assembled to provide software components for common functions such as graphical user interface or online ordering capability that can be combined to create large-scale business applications. For mobile application development, the user experience for mobile interaction is fundamentally different from using a desktop or laptop PC. Saving resources, bandwidth, screen space, memory processing, data entry, and user gestures is a top priority in mobile application development. Developing applications for mobile platforms is quite different from development of core PCs and their much larger screens. The reduced size of mobile devices makes using fingers and multi-touch gestures much easier than typing and using keyboards. Mobile apps need to be optimized for the specific tasks they are to perform. They should not try to carry out too many tasks, and they should be designed for usability. So, one solution to the problem of having three different websites is to use responsive web design. So, responsive web design enables websites to automatically change layouts according to the visitor screen resolution, whether on a desktop, tablet, or smartphone. So, design ang mga websites na kung saan man i-open yon, yung desktop, sa laptop, tablet, or phone. So each of the platforms for mobile application has integrated development environments such as Apple's iOS, SDK or software development kit, and then which provides tools for writing, testing, and deploying applications in the target platform. So there are three main platforms for mobile apps, the iPhone or iPad, yung iOS, the Android, and the Windows Phone. The interactive session on technology describes how some companies have addressed the challenges of mobile development we have just identified. So mobile application development must pay attention to simplicity, usability, and the need to optimize tasks for tiny screens. So that's the end of my report, and here is the source. Thank you for listening and hope meron po kayo natutunan sa aking presentation. Thank you, Doc, and thank you, classmates.